It's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan brings you behind the scenes of college and Utah athletics.
And welcome to the program, along with Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan. I'm Mike Lagesholt. Coming up on the February edition of the Hear from Harlan podcast, we'll take a look at the winter sports season. Also, the men's and women's skiing team off to NCAAs. They won regionals last weekend. We'll talk about that as well as everything else in the women's sports season and men's sports team as well over the winter months. Also, a look ahead to spring, and we'll be joined by Kari Lee, the number 5 ranked gymnastics team. She'll join Mark for his one-on-one student-athlete interview, and then coming up in segment 3, your questions for Mark Harlan. So, Mark, welcome to the show.
Mike, it's always good to see you and have a chance to talk a little bit about Utah athletics. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into it. Always a busy time of the year with the winter sports season kind of winding down and spring sports firing up. As I mentioned, skiing won the NCAA West Regional Championship last weekend. They're off to nationals coming up here in a week or so. It's been a busy time of the year. Your thoughts on how the winter sports seasons are playing out for us?
Well, I'm excited on a lot of different fronts. You know, this is the go time for that group of sports, of which we have a handful that are really heading down to the end of their season. So I always look at it is it's everything they've been working for, you know, all the time spent, winter, summer, everything in between, and it comes down to this moment for all of them. So you mentioned skiing, you know, just a fabulous performance in the NCAA West Regional. You know, really we're ahead of Colorado in a lot of different ways, had some great individual performance. So their takeoff to Vermont here, quickly, and really impressed with our new staff and how they've really gotten that team to really work together. You know, obviously skipping around gymnastics, you know, just another phenomenal meet this past weekend against UCLA. We obviously didn't beat the Bruins, but we had our best score of the year, which is what you want.
Absolutely.
And you talk to Tom and Megan, this is what you want. You want these kind of scores when we start turning the corner. You know, we know the Pac-12 championship is coming up in our community here in a couple weeks, and, you know, encourage everyone to be a part of that. I know it's a busy weekend with the NCAA basketball, you know, in town and a bunch of other stuff going on, but it's about the Utes, and we want everyone to be there. You know, excited about diving too. That swimming and diving, that coaching staff has done a terrific job and really seen some great individual performances. I got a chance to go watch a swim against BYU a few weeks ago, and we just dominated.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
So they did a phenomenal job. You know, women's basketball, wow, what a couple weeks here of up and down play. But as you and I talk, you know, we're back on a 2-game win streak. You know, really disappointed with the injuries that we've had, disappointed for them, and you know, it's just unfair. I think we've had 4 knee ACLs in the last 13 months, but Coach continues to manage it, keep them positive, and, you know, it breaks my heart. You know, the end of that bench is a MASH unit.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
You know, there's more crutches over there than probably hot dogs sold in the arena. But, you know, it's one of those things that she's such a great leader, and Lynn just knows how to keep everyone going. So we're gonna march forward. They're off to LA this weekend, as we all know. And,
yeah, you know, they've
won,
won
right around the corner.
Yep, 20 games already in the win column for them. They've won their most Pac-12 games in school history. So as you mentioned, despite the injuries, they're down to just 7 players last weekend. They've done very well this year.
Well, they have, and really impressed with them. And you know, we're gonna have to fight to get in this tournament, NCAA tournament, and we're gonna do everything we can to help them. In the meantime, they got to help themselves with these remaining games. You know, obviously men's basketball, people get a chance to read more about those guys. I had a chance to go to Seattle, and that was a tough game for us. You know, a really difficult Washington team in the kind of zone they run. It's something to behold in person. How they get after you a little bit. But again, you know, all you can ask your teams is to bounce back. And so to 2 days later or so to go over to Pullman and perform the way we did in a really hot Washington State team was incredible. So we're hanging on to that 4th spot, as you know, Mike. I know a lot of our fans are following that, know the importance of trying to get into that first day bye in Vegas in a couple weeks. We got 3 games remaining. We got a big one against Colorado on the road, and then we come home for the LA school. So I plead with everyone to really, you know, come down and watch us play those LA schools in a week or so. Everything is on our website. Go to it. And, you know, we'll launch those teams, both of them, both men and women's basketball, into the Vegas tournaments.
You've heard the SI coverage jinx, I assume, as long as you've been around in sports. You've got the opposite going on. Your 2 guests in the winter sports teams have done very well. Parker Van Dyke for men's basketball came on your show in December. He's had a great Pac-12 season, shooting the ball the best he has his entire career. And then Drew Gilther for women's hoops, she came on in January. She's got a 2-to-1 assist-turnover ratio in conference play. So you've done a nice job picking your guests for this podcast, Mark.
I know they're both having fantastic seasons, and of course, Britton Covey, I think, led us off, and he was having a great season. He got hurt,
right?
So, but he's terrific. No, it's always great to talk to those young people and their leaders on their teams, and that's why it's kind of fun to do this. And we're going to get another example today with Kari, but for folks to learn about who these kids are and all the great things they do. But it's a good point. They've all had great seasons.
They've had very good seasons. So we'll have them lined up outside the door the next time we do this in March.
That's right.
Let's move on to spring sports, Mark. A huge event for us on February 1st. We had the first ever men's lacrosse game on our campus. They've won now 2 games, a great comeback win over Air Force 6-5 on Sunday. Spring football starts next Monday. The spring game coming up Saturday, April 13th. Some other teams in progress as well. Just your thoughts on how things are starting up for our spring sports.
Well, that's the point about this time of year. We've got our winter sports coming to an end, but meantime, we're launching our spring. So like you said, lacrosse, great opening day. It seems like it was a year ago now, but to have 3,000 plus come out, thank everyone for doing that. We had game 2 over at Judge. That was a great environment as well. We got a chance to get a big win that day, which was just really, really emotional. I think I did a radio interview that week and said that may have been one of the best moments I've had since I've been here, to see the kind of raw emotion from the coaching staff, the players, the families. It's been a long road to get to this point to be a D1 program. And then, to go to Air Force, historically a really good lacrosse team, and come back and beat them on the road this last weekend. It just goes to show what Brian's doing. We're not taking this first-year thing and being a pushover.
Nope,
it's a tough schedule ahead. We don't run from it, but it's nice to get a couple wins. And then, just the tennis programs, really had some good wins. The women's team is, 6-2, had a big win over Wisconsin this last weekend, and, men's at 10-3. So both off to good winning records, which will set the stage, I think, as we head into conference. Women's track and field, we had a bunch of personal bests at the recent MPSF championships, and, that's showing progress too. And, oh my goodness, here we go, right? Women's beach volleyball.
I know.
Which is a little hard for me to look out the window and think we're going to be able to do that, but we're here we go. We're going to start on the road, which is probably appropriate.
Right.
And go from there. And of course, baseball and softball have been on the road, and I've said before, this is new for me, and I miss these guys. I see them during the week, and then they take off to parts unknown, but always tough in their schedule getting going in that way. But I did notice that our baseball fields and softball fields have a little less snow today.
It's melted finally.
So maybe we can get the young people out there and get to work outdoors. So off and running.
Yep, and baseball home for their opener at Smith's Ballpark March 8th and 10th against Niagara. Softball home a week later against California to start Pac-12 play March 15th through 17th. So, and also we'll have a beach volleyball tournament coming up at the end of the season. We'll talk about that more in our March and April shows. But a very busy time for us here on the U campus. Well, Mark, I know your favorite part of the show is coming up. Kari Lee from gymnastics waiting in the wings. We'll catch up with her in just a moment. This is the Here from Harlan podcast.
Now, it's time for Utah's head man to catch up with one of our star student athletes. Once again, here's Ute Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
Well, as I always say, this is my favorite part of taping the podcast, is when I get a chance to visit with one of our fabulous student athletes, and as always, to try to give a little insight on what it's like to be a student athlete here at Utah. And we have an absolute phenomenal student athlete here today who just competed in a huge meet this last week, in which we're going to get into. But Kari Lee is here. Kari, thanks for coming.
Oh, of course.
It's always great. Matter of fact, I think you and I met almost the first week I was here when we were taping some stuff down there.
Yep, I remember.
And I remember thinking, here's someone that's going to go into their senior year, all the adventures that they have had. And now here we are, almost at the Pac-12 championship meet, which is incredible. So just give us a little insight in how you're doing and how the season is going.
Oh, I'm doing really good. I'm a fifth-year senior, so a lot of my teammates call me the grandma of the team. But, I mean, that's a fun role to kind of take. But this season has gone by really, really fast. I mean, we're coming up on senior night this Saturday, which is really surreal because, I mean, back when I was a freshman, I never thought that senior year would come, well, let alone super senior year. So, I mean, when senior night is here, we'll have Georgia, and then we'll hit postseason, Pac-12 regionals and nationals.
Well, it's been incredible to watch you this year. And one of the things that I've seen competitively happen over the last 2 or 3 meets, and give everyone a little insight on this, is this whole leadoff position. And I think that's an amazing thing for you, because obviously you're having to step up and set the tone. Talk a little bit about that role and what's it like being in that role.
Yeah, so I mean, coming in as a freshman, you don't really understand all the roles of like going first, second, third, fourth, because back in club gymnastics, you kind of just go whenever.
Right.
But the strategy behind gymnastics or college gymnastics is you go 1 through 6 up in a lineup, and then, I mean, as you go, you're supposed to build off one another. So the leadoff spot is someone who sets the tone. And, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to where the coaches trust me and my teammates trust me to be in that role for 3 events out of the 4.
It really is. It's a stunning thing. Just to step up. I mean, I think you know this. I've not seen anything quite like the Red Rocks, in my whole collegiate career, to see the arena full. So to be the first person to go, it really is something I think people can't really relate to until you really see it. So a tribute to your character. So let's talk a little bit about the UCLA meet, since so many folks were here. I mean, I had people calling me from Florida. They were watching it. It'd be interesting when the ratings come back. I think we may see millions of people were watching that meet. I understand that we didn't win, and that's disappointing, and you can talk about that, but our score was really impressive. So walk us through that day and how it went down from your perspective.
Yeah, so, I mean, throughout the season, beam has kind of been our event that we've been kind of going through ups and downs. That's why I kind of got put in the role of the leadoff position on beam. That was kind of out of 2 of the 4 events, I was leadoff, and then now I'm 3 out of the 4, like I said. But that has been the event that we've been up and down, like I said. So we finally, for this meet at UCLA, it was our goal to hit for 100% of the meet. So we finally put it all together by when we went to vault, we hit it, bars hit it, beam. We were so determined to do it. Back in practice last week, Tom kind of took over workout, and we kind of called him the Sergeant Tom. It was
I can see that.
Yeah, it was crazy beam workouts, but I mean, it obviously paid off because we had the highest beam score of the season, I believe, and then
it was a great performance.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be a highest meet score of the season.
Is that the kind of thing when you hit that particular event? Does that carry forward in your mind to the future events? Like, we can do this, so let's move on from maybe issues we were having before. So that was a big moment for you guys, wasn't it?
Yes, definitely. I call beam the make it or break it event for a lot of teams. Beam is just one of those events that, like, either, I mean, you hit it and you don't hit it, and that could be whether or not you win or not. So, I mean, in this case, we lost, but I mean, we still had a really good team score. Yeah,
that score, I looked it up. It was one of the top in the country the whole weekend. All right, I got to ask you about something that's really one of the funniest things every time we have a home meet, which is, of course, for those that haven't attended meet, shame on you. But those that are there know what I'm talking about. It's when we put on the video what to look for in your floor routines. And, you have one. I remember the first time it came up in the preview meet, everyone just started laughing. And then you always do it with the crowd, and you get this big smile on your face. Just talk a little bit about that, because it's clearly something you get a kick out of every time.
Yeah, so BJ, we brought her in as a choreographer and volunteer coach this year, and she has such a long list of acclamations that she's done. She just performed at the Grammys in Travis Scott's performance.
Really?
Actually, yeah, she was one of the dancers. But she came in, she was one of Kari's old teammates and former gymnast, and so she understands floor, what you need to bring to it, and kind of like adding the liveliness to it and whatnot. And for me, I'm more of like a serious person on floor, so bringing out this kind of fun clapping sequence that is in my floor routine that I draw the crowd in with was something that when I was first learning it, it was like, oh, like, can I do this? But then we started filming, like, what to do in the floor routine and, like, showing the crowd. And once that video showed at Red Rocks and then the first meet, it was really funny, but really fun at the same time because the crowd was really engaged.
It really, that was a great explanation, and I'm glad everyone got a chance to hear that because it really does get everyone going. The other thing, you probably don't notice this because you're right in the middle of about ready to do your thing, is people are actually starting to get it right.
Yes.
You can see people standing up and doing it. It might have taken them until this last meet to get it. So as we get to the season, people are starting to figure that out. Well, let's talk a little bit about off the floor, so to speak. Talk to everybody about what you're majoring in.
Yeah, so I'm majoring in business admin, and I have a minor in ethnic studies. I chose business because my family actually owns 2 gymnastics businesses back in Arizona. And, I plan to go into that business. Hopefully I can bring something that I've learned in the classroom into real reality.
So that kind of was my next question. So here we go, right? This is it. This is go time for you. You're in the middle of the end of the competition season, and then graduation is upon you in May. Is that your plan to go back to Peoria, is that right, in Arizona, and really join the family business, so to speak?
Yes, definitely. I'm the baby of 4 or 5 siblings. And my other 4 siblings are all in the gymnastics business. They all have done gymnastics. I'm the only one that went to college, but it's my dream to kind of work with my family.
Well, that's fantastic, and I would imagine that it'll be a transition for you, probably not competing right anymore, but then you'll still be in the arena and helping folks. Now, you just have to have an agreement that anybody that's ready to be a Red Rock, where are you going to send them?
Obviously, Utah.
Right, because you got that ASU, U of A deal down there. So you know where to send them. We will expect nothing less from you. But I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for this program. You're a great example of what so many, you've fought through injuries, and you've come back, and you're just leading this program, this sacred program, in such a profound way. Just encourage everybody. We've got 2 more chances to see her live, obviously, with the senior day and also the championships that are coming up next month. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you.
And welcome back to the Hear from Harlan podcast. Always great to catch up with our student athletes, Kari Lee. And, Mark, she's got a great story. She tore her Achilles early on, had an ankle injury a couple years ago, and it's just been so nice to see someone who wants it so bad come back and to have the senior year she's having with this team. It's just a wonderful story for Kari Lee.
Just great leadership. It's been fun to have some of these young people that have been on the podcast this year who've been such great leaders, and we've seen it. And, I had a chance to talk to Tom a little bit about the team recently, and Kari's ability to step up, take that leadership role, perform the way she's doing, leading off in 3 of the 4 events is just spectacular. And she's awesome. And again, I hope people really understand that she's indicative of so many of our 500 in here that just work their tails off to perform. And she's terrific.
Yep. Great story for Kari Lee, and continued success for her and the Red Rocks the rest of the way. All right, Mark, let's turn more to our spring sports. Spring football starts up next Monday, and I know the Utes are ranked top 10 preseason by Brett McMurphy. In one of the polls, obviously a lot of great buzz around the program. A lot of them think, hey, Utah's a favorite in the Pac-12 South next year. A lot of key guys back. It's exciting to talk some football again.
Well, it is. Football is a year-round. We were talking about recruiting, I think, the last time you and I spoke, but excited that the guys are now transitioning from their very intense weight programming that's been going on since they came back for the spring semester, and now we'll get back out on the field with spring football, and starts Monday, leading into April for the spring game, and we look forward to a lot of programming around that game so everyone can pay attention as we get closer. But I've had a chance to run into some football players out and about. They're really excited. They want to pick it up where we left off. The preseason polls are exciting for our fans to read that, but we know the work that's ahead to put it all together. At the same time that we're talking about next year's team, we have 6 young men that are going to be competing in the combine this week, and I might be short on that number, but I believe it's 6 or 7, and so great for them. And this is a big weekend for a lot of really great Utes that came through this program, but it's a reminder of what we need to replace and the leadership that we need to replace. But Kyle will be going through that process, has been going through that process to get ready to roll. So it never ends.
Never ends. Yep, football's back here again. Also, Mark, renewals for football season tickets went out. Some changes for this year. Your thoughts on that?
Well, renewals did go out, and we're already at a brisk pace with folks coming back, and I really appreciate it. And certainly there was some modest increases there. I say modest because we have a 7th game this year as opposed to last year's 6. So you're you're seeing a 5% increase. And we also began the process of the $25 facility fee that will help support the South End Zone renovation. Appreciate everybody understanding that the steps we need to take to continue to have a terrific program. Everybody wants to win. We want to win the right way and provide the best experience for our current kids and also our recruits. So really appreciate everybody. Certainly there's been some folks that have reached out with needed explanation, and we're happy to do that. Always feel free to contact anyone here in the department. Everyone's assigned to a ticket person, and certainly if I'm available, I'll talk to folks too. But we're off and running there, and looking forward to filling the stadium once again.
Yep, and the spring game comes up Saturday, April 13th, 11 o'clock. Hope to see you out there at Rice Eccles. All right, Mark, we've got some questions that have come in over the last month from fans just wondering about some various things. A couple came in about the Pac-12 Conference. What's the latest there, and how are the members working together to make some improvements and enhance the league further as we approach the 2019-20 season?
A lot of collaboration. You know, we had a meeting recently with all the ADs and conference leadership. We had that in Florida around the NCAA convention. Really working together on kind of big rock topics. Making sure that decisions that maybe were made in the past are being looked at, making sure they apply to today's world of running a collegiate athletic conference, and really impressed with the conference leadership from Commissioner Scott and his key groups being very collaborative, transparent, and open with all the issues with the athletic directors. I think one key thing that we have been working on that we can now talk about more openly, Mike, is a really deep dive in our football and furthermore basketball officiating, both men's and women's. We're going to bring in a consultant for football. The league announced that last Friday. It's something that was done in 2010, 2011 to really look at our officiating from replay to how we're administering to how we're communicating with athletic directors and coaches. And I think it's going to be a real helpful process to get a third-party look. And so we're going to work closely on that. So that's just one example of the things that we're doing. I mean, we all understand in football and basketball, we all got to get better. Yep. It starts locally and then collectively, and so we're all going to work really hard to do that. Now, as I've said many other times, unfortunately, the performance nationally of those two sports overshadows the incredible success of the other sports. And, we've seen just an amazing run again of our Olympic sports and very proud of that. But I think we're working at a really high level, and I appreciate everyone's concern about that. I'm not sitting here running Utah just, we're proud to be here and we're not going to say anything. That's not the way I operate. If there's a problem that needs to be addressed, I'm very vocal about it. But I really appreciate the league being very responsive and all collectively working together. This is a great conference with great schools, and we're going to continue to move it forward. Yep,
you're not new to this conference. People maybe forget you were at UCLA for a long time. You're an Arizona grad, so you've got some roots in this league. And in terms of basketball, I've seen the rankings for recruiting classes for next year. Some schools ranking very high. I think, things run in cycles. We got a chance to see an uptick, especially in basketball next year.
I appreciate you mentioning that. Competitively, I do believe there's cycles. Some are longer than others. I remember a couple of years ago, everyone was on the SEC basketball. Their men's basketball can't do anything. I think maybe they got 2 teams in the tournament or 1 team one year, and now they may have upwards of 8 or 9 this year. These things are cyclical. We concentrate on it. We know we're one of the youngest collective conferences in men's basketball of the year. The injuries have just ravaged this conference, but that all sounds like excuses, and I don't mean it to be. But these are things that you have to manage. But that being said, here we are, an exciting men's basketball tournament, a great women's basketball tournament coming up, and, we're going to march forward.
Let's talk about the tournament quick here, Mark. It's the first year both the men and women are in Las Vegas. The women have been in Seattle for a long time, and it drew great up there, but the women now will play at MGM Grand Garden Arena March 7th and 10th, and then a little bit of a break to catch your breath, and then the men gear up at T-Mobile Arena March 13th and 16th. Your thoughts on having both the men and women in the same town over about 10 days?
Well, I'm excited to see it. I think we were very happy with the tournament in Seattle. The Key Arena is under renovation, as stated, and so we're going to just kind of see how it rolls out. I think the fact that they're in the MGM Grand in a smaller arena, I think is good. I think they're going to have a great student-athlete experience, so I'm excited about that. The men's tournament continues its quest in T-Mobile. T-Mobile. Utah fans, we've always shown up.
Absolutely.
And I encourage everyone to get down to Vegas. And if you can go to both, go for it. I've talked to a lot of fans that are doing both, and that's terrific. But again, it'll be a great experience for our student athletes. That's very important, kind of understated maybe outside the different athletic departments, but we want our kids, they deserve it to have a great postseason environment. And I know there's been a lot of work to make sure that's the case.
Okay, a few more questions, Mark, related to events here at the U.
Parking?
A little bit of parking. I'll get to that, yeah.
Because I get those questions periodically.
Yeah, so let's get to them. A woman asking, who decides the scheduling for AAF football games since the game was at the same time as gymnastics last Saturday? My understanding is the Salt Lake Stallions are a tenant at Rice Eccles, so when they rent the venue, they have control over when they play, and the league is basically saying it's a Saturday league with some Sundays and Friday games, so not much wiggle room for that football game to be played at the same time as gymnastics. And I know we took some steps to ensure there was parking reserved for gymnastics fans in that West Stadium lot last week.
I think it's fair, and take away the AAF league. We've got 14,000 plus coming to gymnastics meet, and it is the largest attended arena sport we have right now, and it's a kudos to everybody involved in building that. We just take away that football game. We just have to make sure we're functioning at a high level with parking. And, it's always frustrating when you don't get the spot you want or the lot you want. And I recognize that. I mean, I came late from a meeting recently and got stuck in a traffic jam, and there wasn't an officer at the turn light, and I'm calling operations. And so I want to make sure people understand I empathize and sympathize, but there's a lot of people coming in at the same time. We just have to make sure we continue to work with our friends at visitor parking and communicate the best we can. Now, specifically to the question, we had the first game with those guys. I think they had, I don't know what their number was, Mike. You may have seen it. The good news is, we didn't dump at the same time, so that was really helpful. But I think it's fair. I think we need to look at that and see if there's some things we can do more proactively on both sides, knowing that athletics does not control the kickoff times for that league, but it's something that we can raise, and we will. Pleased that this coming weekend, they kick off at 6 p.m. We have our gymnastics meet at 2, so there'll be no conflict. So we got out of that. But parking is something that I understand the frustrations, and it's just something that our staff, who's great on this matter, and also our friends at Visitor Parking, will continue to make sure at the end of the day, we got to be as clear as we can and push that information out. And then we ask people to make sure they read that information too. And if we can all meet in the middle there, I think we got ourselves a good chance.
Yep, good points. One more question on parking and tracks, really. A woman asking, can you...
Don't park on the tracks.
No, don't do that. That's a good point of advice. Best one we've heard from you so far.
That's important. That's important.
Asking about tracks, saying... is tracks always an option for athletic events? My understanding, anytime we have an event, tracks will run. And she might be referring to, getting to a tracks parking lot to hop on throughout the valley. You can get on tracks anywhere in the valley with your ticket to an event. That is your fare for tracks. And another thing you can do is park at the stadium and take tracks up to the Huntsman for any event we have here, whether it's basketball, gymnastics. So if you're not by a track station, but you can't park close to the venue, hop on tracks at Rice Eccles Stadium and come up. It drops you off right by the southwest set of doors. You walk up. It's a simple deal, and I've done that quite a few times. It's really a nice way to kind of avoid parking in the area of the Huntsman Center.
You have covered it, my friend. Nothing more to add.
Lots of construction. That's the hard part is, we say, pardon our progress. They're building a new dormitory complex east of the Huntsman Center. It's taken over that whole lot that's been there for years.
This university is stunning, and people know how much it's changed, and we all have to manage that. But, obviously tracks is a great option, and certainly we see tremendous amount of volume on tracks, both at arena and of course at Rice Eccles.
Yeah, if you have questions, call 801-585-3515. That gets you to our group sales and ticket sales guys who also can help with parking and answer questions. They're great to work with, so give them a call again, 801-585-3515. All right, that does it for our questions, Mark. Going to be an exciting time, tournament time almost here as we get ready for Vegas. We're hosting games at Vivint Smart Home Arena for the men's second round, March 21st and 23rd. Hopefully both our men and women are busy playing either NCAAs or NIT that week. Always a fun time of the year. We'll get some updates on that when we come back here in March.
Yeah, it's just, again, Mike, thanks for chatting through everything. Appreciate everyone's support. Continue to go to our website, take a look at all the events that we have coming on. Particularly want to point out the Women's Gymnastics Championship, that's going to be coming up. Unfortunately, it is the same weekend as the first and second round. Mm-hmm. Again, those things kind of happened at the same time. But, we want to go where the Utes are, right? So that's
right.
Important to, and again, all the information there. But just in general, as I always say, but I want to stress it again, when Utah fans are at our events, whether it's at home or on the road, it makes a difference. I think it's a great experience, but it really matters to our student athletes. And certainly we've been great to go to Vegas through the years to support basketball. Now we have women there too. So anything you guys can do to break away and come down, it's much, much appreciated. And we've got great folks to guide you through the process. So just want to make sure I take the opportunity to thank everybody for all the support.
Yeah, March 23rd, Pac-12 Gymnastics at the Maverick Center in West Valley. They've actually purchased equipment to do a podium meet, which is like NCAA, so it'll be a big-time deal.
You know what? This might be a good chance. If we're going long, you guys will edit anyway, right? But I got the question quite a bit last week why we're not hosting that meet in the Huntsman Center. As it gets closer, people are asking me these questions, and luckily I had the answer to that. It's because of the podium.
Yep.
And I think people don't fully understand that, or we need to do a better job of explaining that. But the podium, of course, is the raised floor for the young ladies to compete in, and it's how it is in the NCAA championships as they move forward. We can't fit the podium in the structure that we have at the Huntsman Center. That, and the gymnastics coaches really felt like, this should be in a neutral type environment. So the combination of the two, we were just really honored that the folks at the arena were able to get the podium and able to compete in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And so just want to explain that that's why it's not at Huntsman, because I had a few people that were very opinionated on that. So, but it's up to us to explain that.
Yep, and that should be a great atmosphere. Around 10,000, 12,000 seats. Should be a great atmosphere out there at the Maverick Center. 3-year commitment, so fans, get out there, support this. This should be a great event, great gymnastics, and we'll talk about that more as we recap the month of March when we come back for our late March show. Mark, enjoy the basketball, enjoy the gymnastics, everything else. We'll see you back here in about a month.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you to Kari Lee of the Red Rocks for joining us, and thanks to the fans for all of your questions for Mark. That will do it for this show, for the Here from Harlan podcast. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Lagesholt. Until next time, so long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on the latest information around the Utah Utes and Athletics Director Mark Harlan.